OK, let's turn our attentions back to the Premier League and Liverpool, the current leaders, but can Jurgen Klopp's side stay there? As always, Michael, we do love the supercomputer and all that it generates. So tell me, who are the current favourites?
It gets so much traction on social media. This isn't me doing this. This is the computer, the supercomputer, the title chance percentage. Look at the differences from the start of the season. A few weeks ago, Manchester City, 66%. Arsenal, they were being talked about as well, but then a defeat to Aston Villa. Liverpool wins at Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. This is where we stand at the moment. And you see the biggest difference, Liverpool. A 28% difference from the start of the season to now. Arsenal on a 12.5% difference. But what stands out for me, wow, Manchester City, a 90.2% title percentage chance on August the 11th, down to 47.8. Of course, they lost to Aston Villa last Wednesday. They beat Luton. Of course, they've got Crystal Palace at the weekend. Will Erling Haaland be fit? This will change week after week, match week after match week. Gents, how do you both see it? And the fact that we've got Aston Villa there just shows what an unbelievable job Unai Emery has done. Is it still the three, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City? Spurs are there with all their injuries.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Spurs are going to do, Michael, to be honest with you, as the season progresses.
I don't either, Dave.
I think you can't look beyond the three there, Manchester City, Arsenal and Liverpool right now, despite those percentages that we've just been shown. You know, I know Gary Neville thinks that Arsenal are going to win the title. It's difficult to kind of argue with that, and they'll be in the race with Manchester City and Liverpool, who I know we're going to talk about, but I feel a little bit sort of unknown quantity as we get towards the end of the season.
Oh, OK. You teed it up, so let's start with Liverpool. How impressive you've been with what seems to be innovation, but in a revolution timescale with that midfield, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of coming together a bit in that part of the pitch, doesn't it? I think it was a difficult start to the season. I mean, I do think it probably is an area they still need to work on. I'm not sure they've necessarily found the long-term solution there, but certainly the situation's improved. I think what gives most optimism about Liverpool this season is the attack, isn't it? I mean, there's just so much firepower in that team. Salah looks better than ever, and there are so many other players capable of adding goals. You know, they're second to Man City for goals scored in the Premier League, but they're top for shots, top for expected goals as well, which is a good indicator of the quality of chances they're creating. I think the midfield, there are still questions there. I think centre-back as well is interesting with Liverpool, isn't it? Virgil van Dijk's been excellent this season, looks back in great form. He's winning more of his duels, he's performing well, he's dominating, winning more aerials. And I love the stat that he hasn't been dribbled past once this season. You know, that happened 11 times last season, so that's a good indicator of how different his form has been this year. But then you have Joel Matip's injury, and you think maybe are they a bit light in that part of the pitch now? Are they reliant on Konate? Can they rely on his fitness given his injury record? That's maybe a question for me more than the midfield at this point.
The biggest slump statistically this season has been, we saw it up there, Manchester City. 42% knocked off their title hopes, according to the supercomputer. But this is Pep Guardiola, this is Manchester City. Is this because of the perhaps question mark over Erling Haaland and injuries and the effect that could take?
Yeah, I mean, a few people have said it's complacency. I don't think it's that for Manchester City. I think Manchester City have missed the impact that John Stones had last season. He's had his injury problems. They've missed Rodri for a number of games this season, and we know Man City don't win when Rodri doesn't play. That's the narrative that we hear. I think they've missed those players. You know, we've talked with a lot of clubs around the calendar as well. They're missing Kevin De Bruyne for a long time as well through injury. So the thing with Manchester City and the thing with Pep Guardiola is he always finds a way. They always find a way. And I think they're at the stage now where they're just trying to work out what's the next evolution of this Manchester City side going to be. And, you know, the story that we hear at Manchester City year on year is, well, they start the season slow and they accelerate towards the end of the year. Now, this year, they started really well. Now they're having a little bit of a dip. So is that going to be a slight change? Are they going to pick up again? And Pep Guardiola, you know, as one of the best managers in the world, he will find a way for that side to click again. And it's only a matter of time, and they are going to be right in the race.
Yeah, they are still the favourites according to that supercomputer. It seems that the supercomputer, though, has still some bit of doubt about Arsenal. Does that centre around the goalkeeping situation, or is it more important for them to get a number 9? Is that why there's that reservation there for them?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I wouldn't want to argue against the supercomputer, but I do wonder if their chances are slightly underrated there. I mean, I think there are a few question marks over the team. People talk about the goalkeeper situation, understandably. That has been problematic for them this year. I think the striker question is one that keeps coming back as well. I mean, my view on that is that, yes, a new striker is probably the next step for Arsenal in terms of the development of the team under Mikel Arteta, but whether it needs to happen in January, I'm not convinced that it does. For a start, it's obviously so difficult to do big deals like that in January, but then also, let's not forget that Arsenal scored 88 goals in the Premier League last season, you know, only 6 fewer than Man City. And that's a Man City team containing Erling Haaland. You know, a 25-goal, 30-goal season striker is obviously one way to go, but you can also share the goals out, which is obviously what Arsenal did last year. It's what Man City have done in the past as well. Remember, they actually scored more goals in the season before Erling Haaland arrived, and De Bruyne was their top scorer that year with 15. So that question, I think that Arsenal do have a lot of firepower, and obviously a lot of those players haven't maybe hit quite the heights of last season, but I think they will get there, and I think Arsenal are more than capable of challenging. You know, the goalkeeper one is a worry, the situation there. David Ryan, Aaron Ramsdale's situation, maybe it's something that Mikel Arteta needs to look at. Maybe it's something he'll have a few regrets about how he's handled, I don't know, but certainly I think Arsenal are a real force this season.
But come on, Dave, this is your moment. The Villa started with a 0 point something. They've only, despite the fact they're 2 points off the top, they've just done Arsenal and Manchester City on their home patch. 2 points off the top, and they're only 4 point something percent. Now that's just scandalous.
So you're saying there's still a chance?
I'm just saying, why aren't they higher?
Yeah, I mean, I think Aston Villa supporters are in a bit of a dream at the moment, and they're waiting for someone to wake them up. Unai Emery has done a tremendous job, and the reason why I think a lot of people are saying they're title contenders, or they've got at least got a chance, is because if you look at how Unai Emery has done over the year since he's been in charge, that puts them within reach of that title. So, you know, a lot of people will say, well, they'll fall away at the end of the season, but this type of form isn't anything new for Aston Villa. This is something that they have shown on a consistent basis for a whole year now. So the question marks might come when the latter stages of the Europa Conference League come in the early part of next year. Can they sustain that? We saw they looked a little bit fatigued against Arsenal at the weekend. So when that fixture pile-up comes, we'll certainly find out the depth of Unai Emery's squad. But why not? They've got a chance. OK, we got about 20 seconds for you. Who takes the title, having seen the stats?
I think it's still safer to stay Man City, isn't it? I mean, that psychological edge that they have when it gets to the business end of the season, I think that is really significant. But I do think Arsenal could push them pretty close, and I wouldn't rule them out at all.
We got time for me?
Villa.
Aston Villa? No, Manchester City, I think.
OK. You don't want to change that?
Give me a few months.